Hey guys, it's Rachel with Pretty in Plants, and today we're going to be talking about leca for beginners. So if you're a beginner, stay tuned. It's going to be a great video. Some things you need to know if you're very brand new to leca. If this is your first time to ever put a plant in leca, then I'm going to cover some of the basics. I'm going to kind of explain the pots and the plants you want to do. If you didn't see my last video, it was plants that you may want to hesitate putting in leca. Don't do a pothos first. I have 2 or 3 videos on pothos. So let's say you're putting your aloe vera in leca and it's your first time. The first thing you want to do is you want to wash off all the dirt, and I personally like to wait until the dirt is very dry before, because I want the plant to be kind of thirsty, and I like to put some gloves on, finger off the dirt, and if I can get most of the dirt off without washing it, I prefer that. If the dirt's really stuck in there, which is 80% of the time is the case, you're going to, I like to do it outside with a hose that has pretty strong, some pressure, and has fingers, like not a single stream, but several streams, and finger off the dirt with the hose and not with my hands, because I can get a little bit too aggressive. Now, if it's a cactus or aloe vera, or there's some plants that, Ahoya, those I actually use a toothbrush and I brush them really hard. I'm actually pretty hard on those plants, on their roots. They seem to be able to take it. And then after you do that, you're going to lay the plant. I have a dish dryer drying rack, and I lay my plants on there and I'll let them just hang out there. And you can do, if you have it, is you can do a spray, hydrogen peroxide spray. You can do half water, half hydrogen peroxide, just to kill any bacteria, to prevent root rot. Another spray that I have that I personally like is the Super Thrive foliar spray, and that helps the roots pop out faster. So I'll spray, since I've already gotten it wet, I'll spray the roots with that, and then I let them lay on the counter. Now this can take anywhere from an hour, depending on what kind of roots it is, to 24 hours for those roots to dry out. But I do, if I'm in a hurry, I'll use a towel, a paper towel, and just kind of damp dry them until I can get them kind of dried out on my own. But I do want the roots to be pretty dry before I put them into dry leca. Now what container you're going to use is completely up to you, but you want to, let me see this guy. You want to have a container inside of a container. So inside a container, it can be like this one I got from Easy Grow Hydro, some orchid pots that work great as containers, because I like being able to see the roots really well. And so there's lots of orchid pot options, and I think I have those listed below. And then this is your container with the water in it, or the reservoir. Now these two, this plant has adapted to the leca. When you first put your dry roots into dry leca, you're introducing your plant to a brand new lifestyle. You don't want to drown it. One option I really recommend for beginners is to get a cup from Starbucks, a clear cup, and you're going to take a nail or a screw, and you're going to poke holes in the cup for aeration, and then make sure that this bottom hole is about 1 inch above the bottom of the cup. Now, when you take your leca, and I always mix volcanic pumice and leca, I always do. Once I found vulcanite, which I also have linked below, I loved it, and I love it for stabilization. I love it for roots, being able to get between roots. You want all the surface of roots to be touching a pebble. You don't want any air pockets in there. And so the cool thing about a clear cup or a clear vase, and the reason why you see that is I can see the roots, I can see what's going on, I can see if there's rotting. And in sample about 2 or 3 months ago, now we're starting to get algae, and you're going to get algae in clear vases and clear vessels. However, when you're first starting out, I think the algae is worth the price of admission because you can see really, really well if there's dampness in there. There's going to be even if there's no water in the bottom. Like I have water in the bottom, but then when the water's all gone, there will still be condensation on the side of the cup, letting me know it's still drinking. There's still water. Don't water yet. Your first plant, your first time out of the box, you plant it. Now, when you plant it, you want it 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the bottom. If you plant it up here, there's going to be a problem. You can nurse it along if it's up there. But if you want the roots and the whole thing to adapt to leca and the lecalife and to semi-hydroponics, you really want to put it down here. If a plant, if you've already done this and it's been a couple days, I like to give the plant a good 10 days before I pull it out, look at the roots, pull off any rotten roots. If you've already done it and you've watered it, just leave it for the 10 days. Be patient. Sometimes your plant will look a little sad for 2 or 3 days. There's kind of an adjustment period a lot of the times. So now you've got your dry roots in dry leca. They're planted, 1 inch from the bottom. The holes are because you don't ever want to overwater. You will get root rot very, very quickly. The holes are also in a vessel like this. I don't have the pot inside of the pot. If I notice my plant is not doing well and I look in the pot and there's a lot of water and it seems to be drowning a little bit, if the pot's inside of a pot, I just take the inside pot out and let the pot sit on the counter for 10 days, let it completely dry out, and then I will put it back in its cache pot and then proceed. And here, it's not a pot inside of a pot, it's just one vessel. So we like to have a hole, and there's ways to drill a hole in glass as well. We like to have a hole near the bottom, so if the plant is looking too soggy, too wet, it's starting to wilt because of root rot, we can immediately just pour the water out of the bottom, put the plant in a nice warm place with some humidity, give it all the elements that it likes. When you first convert a plant, your first 4 weeks, put it in a heavenly atmosphere. You want humidity, you want light, you want warmth, you want all of the perfect elements for the plant. Once it adapts, you can, put it somewhere where you're not watching it quite as closely. But those first 4 weeks, put it in the shower with you if you need to. This plant has been in my shower for 3 months. It has really good light there. It has really good humidity. It has warmth. And so we've gotten about 4 new leaves in the 4 months. Okay, so now you're gonna water your plant, and it's your dry roots and your dry leca, and you're watering it for the first time. I like to use just plain filtered water, and I never ever ever leave water in the bottom on my first watering. So on this plant, I would water it with clean, pure water. I would pour out any water on the bottom. So now I know, okay, it's had a really good watering, and then I leave it for 10 days. And then after about 10 days, I'll be able to see in my cup some new little roots coming out. I'll be able to see it's really dry, dry, dry. I want it to be dry on the top, dry throughout the whole body of it, to be extremely dry before I water it again. My second watering is gonna be about the same. I'm gonna do purified water, no nutrients, water it, let water out. And then this time I may wait like 7 days. Now, a lot of this has to do with how large your plant is. I have trees in leca that are 10 feet tall. And so when I watered those the first time, I waited a full month before my second watering. So you adjust your watering schedule based on your plant. Like if you have a little teeny tiny plant, you're gonna water it a little more often than every 10 days. It's gonna shrivel and die. So this plant though is a nice medium-sized plant. So I'm gonna do it 10 days. I'll wait. It'll kind of tell me, maybe it'll get, you know, it's really nice to keep the plant in dirt and figure out what its signs are before it's needing water. Like this is a Hoya, and Hoyas are, they get dehydrated. The leaves start to shrivel, and that tells you, okay, the plant needs water up in the pot. So I won't water this Hoya for a month, and then all of a sudden the leaves will look kind of bad, and then I'll put water in the pot. So now you've waited it out. You've just put water in there, but nothing in the bottom. You wait for 7 to 10 days. You do it again. You do it again. You should, by about the 30-day mark, you're going to see nice new white roots. Now around 10 days, what I like to do is take it out of the leca and check my roots, rip off any decaying matter, maybe spray it with hydrogen peroxide one more time, put it back in. And I'm doing all this to check, you know, are the roots really dry? And then I put it back into my clean leca. If there's a lot of root rot, I put my leca into a separate container. I'm gonna boil that leca. I'm gonna use fresh leca because we want root rot not to kind of get its kind of tentacles down in here. We want these roots to be nice and happy and growing new roots. And then after about a month, sometimes 2 months, if it still looks sad, it's too much water, probably. I always guess. If it starts looking sad, what a lot of people do is they immediately dump water on top, and then they really drowned it, and now they really have problems. If you're in a really sticky situation and your plant is not doing well, go ahead and take it out, peel off any rot, and put it just down in a clean vase of water. Change out the water every 2 to 3 days. Put a few drops of Super Thrive in the water until you get some new roots coming out. And once you have 3 to 4 inches of new roots, you're gonna start again. You'll let the roots dry out, and you will start to put it into leca, exactly the same instructions. But my rescue remedy for my plants is just put them in a vase of water in a sunny window, and then I just change out the water every few days. They can live in that for a really long time, and then they'll start growing new roots, and the new root system is what I want to see. This is also a good plan if you are new to leca and you're really afraid to put your plant into leca, but you want to do it. So what you can do is take all the dirt off, go ahead and put your plant into a vase of water for about a month, and start getting new roots growing. Get it adjusted to the water life. Now, a lot of people ask me how can it live in water, but then when you put it in here, it needs a wet dry period. You're treating this like soil, and your plant actually needs oxygen just as much as it needs water. It needs the oxygen element. That's why hydrogen peroxide, introducing that, using a little hydrogen peroxide in the water, once a plant's been in the system for a while, once a month, hydrogen peroxide your plants. It will help boost the oxygen and help your plants take off again if they've kind of stalled out a little bit. When do you add nutrients? That's a big question. And what you're gonna do is 4 to 6 weeks, once you see the new root growth. Some people wait 3 months. The nutrients are not, it's not an emergency. The emergency at the beginning is getting your plant just happy. Happy in the leca, giving them plenty of humidity, warmth, enough light, a drying out period between waterings. Once you've gotten this kind of down pat, now you want to add the nutrients into your water. Now, I personally use a single nutrient. I either use Grow, use Foliage Pro, and they're both linked down below. I like to kind of go back and forth. I've been using Foliage Pro all summer, so this winter I'll switch over to Grow and just give the plants a little bit different nutrient solution. But mine's 1, and it's 1 teaspoon per gallon, so it's very simple. And then I don't flush my plants. If they get white crusty stuff on the top, I will soak the whole plant for about an hour in distilled water or reverse osmosis water. It leaches all the crusty stuff off and gives the plant a fresh start. I let that water completely drain out. A lot of white crusty stuff on the top. You may want to examine your nutrients. It could just be too many nutrients. Go back down on your nutrients to half strength and see if that's better for your plant. Now you're cruising. Now you're kind of getting off the ground. The hardest part for leca is going to be your first 4 to 6 weeks. And once you get that plant adapted, there may be some bumps along the road, but a very wonderful hands-off experience. I have very few pests. My plant growth is 2 to 3 times faster than that in dirt. I will have to move this plant up, and the reason is it's getting algae. It will steal nutrients from this plant. Right now it looks okay. There's a little bit of a wrinkle on this leaf. Growth, I'm not super concerned at this point, but that's kind of why I'm okay with clear vessels at the beginning. You're gonna move your plant up anyway. It is gonna get root bound in here. And so you have the luxury of getting to see what's going on with your roots at the beginning, and then go ahead and move up in 3 to 4 months. Like my roots went down to the bottom and now they're growing up and now they're sprouting out new roots. So it's very, very happy in its space, but it will need to be in an opaque pot next. You just want to make sure you follow the same rules when you're transferring or going up a pot size. You want to keep it low to the bottom. You want to actually let the roots dry out and put them into dry leca and very gently treat it the same way for 2 to 3 weeks. It goes into another little bit of shock. A lot of people, they get confident, their plants are doing great. They throw them in the next pot. They throw in extra leca because now the plant's bigger. They throw in a ton of water and leave a reservoir in the bottom. And a lot of times you can lose a plant that way. So be very gentle with a plant. You're being gentle when you go into leca, and then you're being gentle when you go up a pot size. You kind of have the same rules. So I hope this helped y'all. I opened your eyes if you weren't sure. There's a lot of information out there. I am congruent. My methodology is congruent with Arlene and Jerry. Easy Grow Hydro. They've been doing this since 1978 and have had plants growing successfully in leca for a very, very long time. And so a lot of my advice is congruent with theirs. So hope y'all love this. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.